Every Limb of the Flood is the debut full-length album from Dreamless Veil. This is a blackened death metal project, or a melodic black metal project, if you will, and one that features more of a modern style, and that's probably because it features folks who've been involved in black metal, but they're best known for more technical or just death metal-oriented projects in Artificial Brain and Inter Arma. Now, part of the reason why I mention technical death metal and death metal in general is because they have Dave Haley from Psychroptic on here. Now, he has his own black metal associated projects, but in this particular band, it calls for a more aggressive, upfront, and somewhat technical sound. Kind of what Crimson Massacre were doing on their first album, but also treating the post-Wolves in the Throne Room style of melodic but atmospheric black metal as part of their oeuvre. So there are classic sensations in here, and you might feel that, but they're more rooted in a different style of black and death metal that I would liken to a certain era of USBM. It reminds me of kind of the mid 90s scenes where bands like Epic of Unlight were fusing both melodic death metal and melodic black death metal and technical death metal into different things. So this is not exactly that. They're using dissonance in phrase, and they're using a lot of different modern techniques to create this sound, and it is not necessarily a retro or a nostalgic project so much as a reaction to the pandemic era, because that's when this band started, between the two major players in it, Mike Paparo and Dan Garguilo. So let's cut to a clip here and just get a sense for what I'm talking about, and you'll see there's sort of a you can tell they're technical musicians, but they're playing a more expressive form of semi-melodic black and death metal. So I think mixing thought-provoking and reactive lyrical themes with an album like this is a really smart way to present a serious like black metal project to the populace. So they're not even calling it black metal. Really, they're calling it extreme metal, which is always a little bit frustrating when you're a fan. But the way they presented it is something like melodic black death metal for the most part. Now, when we start out, the songs are very focused. The pace is very fast, and this is a very aggressive record right out the gate. You really get a sense that they're not going to slow down because there's a lot of momentum to start. And then once we get to the second half of the record, they become more technical. The movement slows down a little bit, and they become a little bit more lost in the motion of things, which is kind of a thrilling sensation, because really the way that the album is themed lyrically, we are descending into madness. Ultimately, it's a dissociative record that is like practically suicidal in the way that it presents itself. So it's a very dark record, and I think that the general verve of both the lyrics and the music match up pretty well as we go down this path of dysphoria. So there's definitely like a nihilistic bent to this record. It is fairly dark, and there is some depth there. But really, this record is just kind of a pleasure to listen to. And while it might sound like, well, these outsiders are making a black metal record that is imitative of certain styles, well, sure. I mean, I think that's pretty common in general, but that's just a little gatekeepy for me. I think that with this is a pretty strong record that manages pretty impressive performances, and the way that it's written is very smart. I think the main composer and guitarist is quite good at this type of music. It becomes a little bit unfocused, I think, towards the end, but that's either by nature of design or just running out of a specific type of idea. So this seems like it was all put together as a pandemic record. It was put together in a fairly short period of time and then perfected over time. So in that sense, we're getting a reactive creation. It's something that was a reaction to captivity, as I put it in the review. And so when a band is built upon those sorts of temporary foundations, it's remarkable that this much is put into it and that it is realized at all, because it could have been a wash. So I appreciate the end product is sensical. It makes sense both visually, lyrically, and musically, that all these things come together, and putting together such a strong sort of product, if you will, generally makes for an effective experience beyond what is average. So for me, that was a moderately high recommendation. I don't think that it will impress everyone who likes this type of music, but if you're looking for something that is beyond the norm in like melodic black metal or just the usual modern sensation of black metal. This is an interesting record and something that it might be interesting if they continue with it. We see a lot of these projects just kind of going nowhere. They're kind of one-offs. So we'll see if they continue with it. But for now, I think I was impressed and I enjoyed listening to this. It might not stick in mind, but we'll see over time. So that released on September 20th. Check it out yourself and go ahead and read my review for more of my thoughts on the whole thing.